What's up, Conference USA fans? Welcome into another episode of CUSA Insider, the official podcast of Conference USA. Joining me today is co-host Josh Jonas, and we are so excited to bring you a lot of different things today. We're going to talk about some cross country, some women's soccer championship, which is actually going on right now in Miami down at FIU. And so we're going to have Eric Jones from our team join us in just a little bit to talk about that. We're going to talk about volleyball because we've only got 2 weeks left. And then we have reached the halfway point of the season for football. And there's a lot going on for that. Halfway point there in conference play. And we have some games this weekend back on Saturday, and we will preview all of those for you today. So we're going to get into it here in just a second, but we're going to take care of our housekeeping as we always do. If you are watching us on video right now, then you have found us on YouTube. Thank you so much for going and finding Conference USA's YouTube page so that you can watch CUSA Insider watch us on a TV or computer or whatever you're watching us on right now. But if you're an audio-only type of guy or gal, you can still find us on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon Music. But I think the show's pretty cool, so I think you should go and find us on YouTube.
See all of this.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally the inside look of CUSA Insider. So, let's go ahead and just get right into it, Josh. We had our very first fall championship of the year this past weekend with cross country. Kensley Walters was on with us from our staff, Coach Prime, if you watched last week's episode. And if you didn't watch last week's episode, you have no idea what I'm talking about, so you should go find out. But there was a little bit of a surprise that actually came out of there. Kensley alluded to it, but Middle Tennessee was the favorite on both the men's and women's side going into the weekend, but Liberty came in and swept.
Yeah, she came in here and spoke it into existence when you guys were talking about who was the biggest threat to, kind of dethrone Middle Tennessee after they swept last year. And they went out and did it.
Yep.
Both races, they won the team titles. The Blue Raiders did account for the 2 individual champions, both true freshmen, by the way. In Alan Kiplagat and Odelia Jepchumba.
I know.
I'm not going to butcher that.
When Kensley came in here last week, spouting up all those names, I was like, you go, girl, because those are tough.
I tried when I did the cross-country recap last year. I think it took me 4 or 5 takes to get through some of them. And
it's crazy. I know. She was rolling them off. But she did kind of allude to those as well, that she thought that those would be those individual championships there. But we talked about it last week. Liberty won. They swept both the indoor and outdoor track and field championships this last year. So coming into this year, there may be a new track and field cross-country powerhouse in Conference USA. I don't know. Middle Tennessee and UTEP have really held those spots for several years, but Liberty obviously coming out and doing some great stuff. But we also have a volleyball championship coming up here in a couple weeks. Only 2 weeks here left of volleyball season. WKU still undefeated in conference play.
Just unbelievable what Travis Hudson and the Lady Toppers are doing there in Bowling Green. They are up to 88 straight regular season conference victories.
So crazy.
Which is just eye-popping. They could clinch a share of the conference title this weekend if they are able to extend it to 90 matches. They're playing Sam Houston this weekend. With a two game lead over UTEP already, obviously mathematically can secure that at least a share of the title.
Yeah.
And that number 1 seed after they swept the Miners. But when you look past UTEP and WKU, the seeding race is really starting to heat up in volleyball with 5 teams separated by just 2 games in the middle of the standings there. So, you kind of know who you're going to get at the top there. But when you start looking at those 3-6, the 4-5 matchups at the tournament, it could get dicey.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this weekend plays out. Like you said, I think it'll kind of start to really lend itself to what the seeding is going to look like in the final week of the season. Hopefully some separation there in the middle. But it's being hosted by UTEP in El Paso. And I don't know. It's going to be I think it's going to be a really good championship for sure. Obviously, WKU has already gone in to El Paso, swept the Miners at home. So WKU is a really, really good volleyball program. They have been in Conference USA for a very long time. Nationally, they're a well-known name. So can someone dethrone the Hilltoppers? I don't know. It'll be an interesting race for sure. So fall championship, season in full swing here for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, cross country last weekend, volleyball in 2 weekends, but we have a championship that is going on right now. And Eric Jones from our office down there is in Miami. He's hanging out right now in his hotel room. And we're so excited to have you join us, Eric. Thanks for taking some time out of your schedule and talking to us about some women's soccer.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm excited to talk some women's soccer championship. We are through an electrifying day one here down in Miami.
Electrifying and cloudy and rainy as well, isn't it?
Yes,
down there. Well, let's talk a little bit about those matches that happened last night and then the ones that are going to be happening tomorrow. So for those of you who don't know, our women's soccer championship, it is a different kind of format than a typical championship. So they have days off. So we played yesterday. There are no games today, which is why Eric was allowed to join us here. They play again on Friday, no games on Saturday, championship match on Sunday. So yesterday, we got to see 2 matches, the first one being Jacksonville State versus New Mexico State. Tell us a little bit about that one. I know Loma McNeese had a great game.
About to say, I was going to start with Loma. She stole the show in that first game yesterday. Got the scoring going early in the 19th minute. Assisted her teammate Meredith Scott for the opening goal, and they truly never looked back. Actually, that assist there from McNeese broke the program record with her 17th career assist. Then she proceeded to score 2 more in the second half. New Mexico State picked up with an electrifying start to their championship run here, and will now get to face off with number 2 seeded Liberty tomorrow afternoon. And who knows, that we got ourselves a rematch from last year's title match. They both tied earlier in the season this year, so we'll have a lot in store with that one with our first match tomorrow.
Yeah, that was one I had circled if it made it to that, because obviously those 2 programs, historically, really, before getting even into Conference USA, they played each other a lot and in the past. And I think that last year they were huge rivals, I guess I would say. I mean, they really were getting after each other for sure. I mean, that championship game last year was a really good one. So excited for that one tomorrow. I believe it's 4:00 Eastern there in Miami. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
on ESPN Plus. So yeah, that should be a good one. We're excited for that one for sure. I think the one that surprised me the most, though, was last night's game, Middle Tennessee versus Sam Houston. No score in regular time, went to PKs, and it was awesome.
Yeah, talk about a physical matchup last night. Early in the season when they faced off, Sam Houston, took that one, but it was about as tight as it could have been, a few months ago as well. Seeing how that kind of matched up there in the second half, it looked like Sam Houston was ready to break through and get that, possibly only goal they needed. But both teams hung strong, Demi Gronauer and Kasia Souza on both ends, holding down the nets, were fantastic last night. And, we saw 110 minutes go by with no score, and we went into PKs. And actually the first championship matchup in PKs since 2021, when Middle Tennessee actually defeated Rice. So,
I remember that, actually. Yeah, that was a good game.
Yeah. So it's been a few years since we've seen a conference championship game end in PKs, and it was thrilling last night. See Manon Labarge end it there. She's been the stud all year for the Blue Raiders, so it was pretty fun to watch. And now, hey, they got the top seeded FIU Panthers on their home turf now, so we'll see how that goes on Friday night.
Yeah, they definitely don't have an easy path ahead of them.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the teams we talked about already, in the soccer championship, obviously Liberty and New Mexico State both played in the title game last year. Sam Houston was in that tournament, picked up a win in the first round last year. Middle Tennessee, though, since that 2021 match that you mentioned, this is kind of their first taste of the conference tournament again. So to be able to go out there, I'm sure there were some nerves. I'm sure that there was just that extra added edge for them that they wanted to go out, perform well, and really make the most of this opportunity to be back in the postseason.
Yeah, it should be some good stuff.
No doubt. And even Tuesday when we were having our media day, I remember hearing Demi Gronauer, their goalkeeper, just constantly talking about just how her confidence has grown this year, being a true freshman. it's been pretty special to watch here so far.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how that match goes tomorrow night. I mean, FIU obviously has been lights out all year. They're at home, and so expecting some hometown crowd. It's a Friday night, so it's not like it's a Monday. So I think you guys are going to have some people in the stands, and I think they're probably going to be wearing gold, not Middle Tennessee blue, probably. So it may be a little bit of a rough outing for the Blue Raiders, but you never know. They've already come out and won in PKs. So, I mean, the momentum is definitely swinging in their direction after last night. So, wishing you guys some good weather down there. Before we got on, he was saying he hasn't seen the sunshine in like an entire week. So, hoping that the rain does not fall down on you guys tomorrow night. You guys get some good rest today. And we will be watching those games on 4 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN Plus tomorrow. Thanks, Eric.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
All right. Now it's time to talk all about football. It's back. Yeah. It's back on Saturdays. It was a weird transition week. We had games on Wednesday, but we had one game on Saturday. It just felt odd. It didn't feel quite right, but it's back. It's here. We're Saturday mornings. Wake up, watch College Game Day, watch some football.
Oh, yeah. And we got a little taste of it. Last week we had, obviously the wrap up of weekday CUSA. We had one straggler that was on Saturday with Middle Tennessee and UTEP. So, kind of a little bit of a transition week for us coming out of a very fun weekday CUSA campaign. Middle Tennessee picked up a win over UTEP.
Yes.
Quarterback Nick Vadiato scored a last-minute touchdown, punched it in from a yard out to get him a dub. Wide receiver Miles Butler, though, came in to this one with 173 yards receiving on the year and finished with 101 yards and a touchdown in this one. So, obviously the normal culprits like Holden Willis, Omari Kelly, weren't the leading receivers. Nope. It was Miles Butler.
Yeah, the box score this week, I was like, oh, who's that? That's nice. Yeah, so I'm in trouble, though, because I picked the Miners to win that game, and I'm sure Coach Mason will be after me about it, but good job, Blue Raiders. You guys picked up a good one. And I think that, we talk so much about the Miner defense, but the Middle Tennessee defense should not be forgotten about with their high-flying offense, which is very good, but their defense is good as well, for sure. Mason being a defensive-minded guy, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they held UTEP scoreless on their last 4 drives in the game. They had an interception, a missed field goal, a punt, and a red zone stop in the final seconds to secure the victory. So the way that they've been able to just really step up and lock down opponents, you kind of look at the last 3 games, they've allowed, if you look at their last 2 wins, which have come in the last 3 games, they've allowed 9 points and 269.5 yards a game in those victories. In the win over UTEP, Blue Raiders had season highs in tackles for loss, sacks, and pass breaks. They had 10 pass breaks.
Yeah.
I mean, that secondary was just not allowing. Poor JP Pickles.
QB Pickles.
They were picking him apart.
They were picking Pickles apart. You're going to do that every week, Josh. It's going to happen every week.
But the one outlier of the last 3 games, obviously being a game against Jack State, which I don't think that anyone in this league can stop that offense right now. We'll talk about them more later.
Yes.
But in the last 3 games, just to kind of wrap up, the defensive spectacle that Middle Tennessee is putting on right now. They've just given up 1 passing touchdown in these last 3 games, allowed 128 yards per game at a 48% completion rate over those 3 games. So, obviously when you look at Jack State, they're not a very pass-heavy offense.
Yeah.
Still, when you look at the other, you look at those 3 games and that's all you're giving up in the air.
Not bad.
Doing pretty well.
Yeah, not bad.
So shout out to Derek Mason, obviously, putting an impact on that defense, being a defensive guy like you mentioned.
Yeah, well, I think that, the Blue Raiders and the Miners have the quickest turnaround this week. It's a week, though. It's a normal turnaround. But for everybody else, they played on Tuesday or Wednesday. The Blue Raiders and the Miners play again this upcoming Saturday. But we've got, 4 games in action this week? And 3 of the top 4 teams in the league standings right now are on the road in games this week. So let's go ahead and talk about Liberty at Middle, since we were just talking about the Blue Raiders. Chronologically, it's our first game of the day on Saturday at noon Central Time on CBS Sports Network.
Yeah, and, going to your point, it's not easy to go on the road. You throw odds out the window. It is not easy to go on the road and win games, no matter who you're playing. But, we'll start here with Liberty at Middle Tennessee. I mean, obviously the big storyline here, Liberty coming off back-to-back losses for the first time since 2022. So this is something that Jamie Chadwell hasn't had to deal with. This is something that Caden Salter hasn't had to deal with having to crawl out of this hole of losing back-to-back games. We know what they're capable of. The nation knows what they're capable of, but unfortunately just a couple ones that haven't gone their way recently. Still just, eagerly wanting to get that bowl eligibility.
I know, right?
So hoping, for their sake, I'm sure they're hoping it comes this weekend against the Blue Raiders. But again, Blue Raiders have won 2 of their last 3. The defense has really been stepping up. So who knows what we're going to see in this one?
Yeah, they're at home. So, Liberty lost at Kennesaw State. If some people might think, oh, well, maybe Middle isn't the hardest place to play, but maybe it is. Who knows? Like, I don't know. Away games, like you were saying before, you just never know. So we'll have to see what comes out there. But like, as we were talking about before, Middle's defense has been performing so well in the last couple of games. Can they do the same thing against Caden Salter and that Liberty offense? We'll have to wait and see. So I am interested to see how Liberty's run game also kind of steps up. They are ranked 9th in rushing offense right now, yards per game. So we talked about how Middle didn't do as well maybe against Jacksonville State, who was a very run-heavy offense. So possibly Liberty can play into that a little bit. But yeah, have to see how this one turns out. Hoping that the Flames do get that 6th victory, though, for bowl eligibility. But Middle is still, they have enough games left to get bowl eligible still as well. So they're still fighting for it. Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens. Again, that game is at noon Central Time, 1:00 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports Network this upcoming Saturday. All right, let's go to the other opponent that we talked about already in last week's game, but Kennesaw State at UTEP. These are both teams who only have one win on their win-loss schedule. So somebody's coming out with 2 wins after this weekend. So there's going to be a winner in this one. Let's talk about who it might be. So that game's at 3 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus. It is in El Paso at the Sun Bowl.
Yeah, and it's homecoming out in El Paso, so I'm sure that the Miners fans will be out in droves.
Yes,
trying to fill up the Sun Bowl. But yeah, like you were saying, both teams. There's no hope of a bowl game at this point in the year,
very sadly.
And so, but I feel like you kind of almost expect a much more pure game, right? Because they're not, fighting for bowl eligibility at this point. Like, you're really just trying to end the season on as much of a high note as you can. So yeah, I foresee this one being a very interesting matchup. Kennesaw State made headlines a couple weeks ago with the win over Liberty. UTEP just, they're still just 3 weeks removed from them getting that first win under the Scotty Walden era. So they've had enough recent excitement that the guys are still fired up in those locker rooms. But I think the key matchup in this one comes down to the trenches. The Owls have given up the fewest sacks per game in CUSA, while the Miners lead the league with 2.44 sacks per game on the year. So if the Miners can get in the backfield, that may be the edge they need to pull this one out.
Yeah, it certainly could be. And you look at Kennesaw State's schedule too. Their last 2 games were against Liberty, very, very good football team. WKU, the league leader right now in the standings. They're coming off of 2 really tough games, and it's going to be a question to me. All right, are they tired? And are they going to go out and...
Or are they battle tested?
Or are they battle tested? Exactly. And they're going to go out and play lights out against UTEP. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I'm very interested to see. I think this game, like you were saying, is a little bit more interesting than people might be making it out to be when you look at a 1-7 team and a 1-8 team. But I'm excited for this one.
Yeah.
Like I said, somebody has to come out a winner. So somebody's getting a 2 in that win column. All right. Another great game that we have this upcoming weekend. Jacksonville State headed to Ruston to play Louisiana Tech on CBS Sports Network. That game is as well 3:30 p.m. Central Time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm excited about this game also.
Yeah, same here. Back half of our CBS Sports Network doubleheader. I'm really excited to just have, back-to-back linear games still, even though we're done with weekday CUSA. But yeah, I think this kind of, this really feels like the game of the week. Not just record wise, obviously with Jack State, riding this 5-game winning streak. La Tech, another one of those teams that, even though they have a losing record right now, they still have, they can get to a bowl game.
Yes.
If the cards fall their way over the last 3 to 4 weeks of the year. But Gamecocks making their first trip to Ruston to take on the Bulldogs, who have won 2 straight at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, just kind of adding in some of these, all right, something's got to give here.
Yep.
But, I really like Jack State in this one. You know, they rushed for 358 yards per game during their winning streak, which is 18 yards more than, or would be 18 yards more than the national leader, who is Army right now at 340. So, I mean, what, you know, the backfield duo of Tyler Huff and Trey Stewart are doing right now. I mean, we talked about them week in, week out.
Yeah.
I'm sure people are tired of hearing it.
Yes, but they're good, okay?
Except for our friend Jordan on Twitter. I'm sure he loves it.
Shout out to Bald and Bougie.
Yeah, he loves it plugging Jack State this much. But they face one of their toughest tests to date against this La Tech. You know, we kind of alluded to this on our last episode that, you know, this La Tech squad, 28th nationally in rushing defense.
And they lead the league, don't they?
Yeah. And so the boys up front for the Bulldogs, they do not give up big runs. But again, it's just that, okay, who's going to win this matchup here? Because you've got, two unmovable forces that are going against each other. But I think one area that the Bulldogs will really need to exploit is third downs. Another area that we've touched on a lot is Evan Bullock's success on third downs for this team. In his 5 starts, they're converting at a 48% rate, which is incredible. But the Gamecocks have just allowed successful conversions at about a 44% clip. So I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at the rankings, I mean, that you know, it does make a difference. So if they can continue to move the ball on those high pressure downs, who knows?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be, when you look at the statistical areas that we've been talking about, this is definitely the most interesting game to me that we have this upcoming weekend. So happy it's on CBS Sports Network. So people can watch it on national TV. But Jacksonville State is fighting for their 6th win as well for bowl eligibility, and they are fighting for a spot in the Conference USA Championship. And if they can get past this game, it just edges them one game closer, obviously, to being able to get there until the back half of the season, the last couple of weeks, which we have discussed at length. If you want to know who's going to the CUSA Championship, I'm sorry, you probably won't know.
For November 30th.
Yeah, you probably won't know for a while. But like I said, guys, tune into this one because I do think it'll be a good matchup. All right, our final game of the weekend, which I was so happy to see what time this game was at, because you're in Las Cruces. Are we going to have a 9 p.m. Central Time kick? It's possible, but no, we have a 5 p.m. Central Time kick. WKU versus New Mexico State on ESPN+. That's 5 p.m. Central, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time, because it's in Las Cruces for you folks out there. How do we think the Hilltoppers go in and perform against New Mexico State, who is 5-0 at home in CUSA play since entering the league?
Yeah, shout out to the Aggies. I mean, it's tough for anyone to go, like I said, it's tough for anyone to go into, you know, other people's houses and come away with wins. So this will obviously be another challenge for the Hilltoppers, another one of those teams that we mentioned, you know, at the top of the standings that has to go on the road. And they're kind of in the same boat as Jack State. They were trying to take one more step towards that, you know, potential championship berth, potential championship host spot. But, you know, again, it's hard for me to root against some of the, you know, Jack State and WKU, the way that they've been playing the last 3 to 4 weeks. You look at Caden Velkamp for the Tops, has thrown for at least 260 yards and thrown 3 touchdowns in each of their last 3 games. I think he should continue to thrive against this New Mexico State defense, who's really struggled against the pass. When you're looking for kind of a pro stat for New Mexico State, you know, for if you Aggie fans are feeling a little discouraged about this,
there you go, Aggies.
They do enter the conference, or enter this matchup with the conference's top red zone offense, but matchup with the Tops defense that is number 2 in the country in giving up red zone scores.
There you go. I see. Look at all of these games and how they're working out with each other.
This is what I live for.
Yes.
So when things are just perfectly, you know.
He's the stats guy. Don't ask me. He provides me the notes so that I know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, I really do think we have some really good matchups. And when you look at the stats and how these teams are performing on offense and defense, I think that this one probably will go in the Hilltoppers' direction, snapping that win streak at home for the Aggies in CUSA play. But WKU is a really good squad on both sides of the ball this year. I do think that they got to bowl eligibility this last week. And like you said, they are working their way towards trying to host a CUSA championship. So anything can happen in Conference USA, though. So we'll just have to see how this Saturday's games play out. But I'm super excited just to be able to be back on Saturday, hang out on a Saturday morning, drink my coffee, watch game day, and then we got an early game at noon. So
just going off of what you were saying about the 5 o'clock kick on that last one, the days of having to stay up until 1 a.m. to send out my emails and finish up posting everything from games is over. I only have to stay up until about 9 or 10 o'clock for this one.
There you go. Well, guys, we appreciate you for joining us today. A little bit of a shorter show. We just thought we'd come on, talk some football, talk some women's soccer. Just want to remind you that we do have women's soccer games happening this weekend as well. Like we said, women's soccer championship games 3 and 4 are tomorrow on ESPN+. 4 p.m. Eastern time is game 3, and that will be New Mexico State versus the number 2 seeded Liberty Flames, who had a bye coming in. So this will be their first game of the championship. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern, you've got the co-regular season champions with Liberty, FIU Panthers, the 1 seed, and the home squad, as they're playing down there in FIU, will be taking on the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders, who won it in PKs last night against Sam Houston. So should be some good matchups on the women's soccer side. And then they'll play for the whole enchilada on Sunday. So be tuned into that one. That one's on ESPN Plus as well. Lots of football this weekend. Lots of volleyball as well. If you're interested in seeing who's playing who and at what times, go check out our website. You can definitely catch some of those games on ESPN Plus this weekend. And as we've talked about, we're barreling towards a Conference USA football championship. It's on a Friday if you'd like to mark your calendars, December 6th on CBS Sports Network. So we're excited. As the weeks go on, we'll get closer and closer and closer towards actually knowing who is going to be in the championship and where it's going to be. So we're just so excited to have you all join us again for another episode of CUSA Insider. If you're not already, go subscribe to our YouTube channel on Conference USA's YouTube page. Check out our social media accounts on X and Instagram at CUSA Insider Pod. And if you'd like to send us an email, any recommendations, questions you'd like us to cover, I'd prefer no backlash, but if you got it, I'll take it. So you can actually email us. We have an email account set up just for you guys. You can email us at cusainsider@conferenceusa.com. And I think that's everything. Oh, wait, if you want to listen in audio still, we're still on podcasts for Apple, Amazon Music, and Spotify. So you can do that as well. All right, Josh, anything else before we go? Did I cover it?
No, I think that was it. I guess, happy holiday drink at Starbucks introduction day for all those who celebrate.
Oh my gosh, I should have brought my Christmas cup in. So, yes, happy that to all those who celebrate. Well, guys, thank you again, as always, for listening to CUSA Insider. I'm Sarah Rudolph, and this is Josh Jonas, and we are signing off.